My name is Marshall. I'm an addict in long-term recovery. Man.
Cat, according to Monique, means that the hat on the head means you're lying. I've never heard that, but that's the origin of cat. I'm going to look this up. I'm going to look.
Tendencies to be less open-minded.
Which is crazy because that's literally one of the three spiritual principles that we have to follow.
Yeah.
We have to have open. Yeah, we have to be open-minded.
It's against them. Don't sound like the president to start inventorying yourselves, but be true to yourself. You don't have.
And when I came back, the place was a mess. So I knew I was missed.
It's beyond my wildest imagination.
It's getting deep in here now.
It's incredible.
We have the rainbow without going through the rain. And I love it.
Me too.
Good.
Yeah. And applying the recovery, I thought about it for a second.
That individual ain't gonna never be shit. Because they caught up in that bullshit. They ain't gonna never be shit. That's how they think, man. That's how they think, man. I'm so grateful, man, that in my small circle, man, my mother was in my small circle. And you have heard me say before, me getting clean was my redemption tool. Redeeming myself, especially for my mother and for my family and for my small circle. I know what drugs did to me. It turned me into an individual that I was not. Turned me into somebody that I was not. And I got a chance to redeem myself. Oh man, hey look, it just make me think, man. We got a powerful speaker in here today, man. We got a powerful speaker in here today. I ain't gonna tell his story, but he done did time like I have did time, And man, when you come to joints like this, everybody in here is a gangster. Everybody in here is a gangster. In their mind, so they think anyway, Everybody's a gangster. Everybody's hard. Everybody don't give a shit, And man, that's part of the mask that we put on. That's part of the mask that we wear. And you know what, man? I remember, I'm from Southside. I remember a brother got involved in a killing spree. This had to be about 20-something years ago. Killed some people over Southside. He killed a whole family of people. He killed 4 people. He killed the husband, the wife, and the 2 kids. Killed the husband, the wife, the 2 kids over there on Porter Street. And let me tell you something. This dude was a real live gangster. He was a real live gangster. And they sentenced him to die. And before he died, he spoke out. He said, man, I done had nightmares about killing those 2 kids. He said, because I got a sister that got 2 kids that come visit me. And I know that shit won't right. But that's what happened, man. That's what happened. When we own that shit, man, that shit'll have you doing shit that you wouldn't. Mama, you better not put that pocketbook down. Don't leave them car keys over there, And these are people that love you. You're going to steal from them and take shit from them. Because that's what they do, man. That's what it has you doing. And I got reminded of that. So that's why I'm here today. That's why I started thinking about the year. I'm here to help somebody. I'm here not to give up on somebody because somebody didn't give up on me. Somebody prayed for me. They ain't know what to do. Somebody prayed for me on a regular basis, man. And those 2 people are not here today. That's the redemption for me. That's my redemption tool. Because one of them was my mother. And the other one was my mother-in-law. And that woman never had anything bad to say about me. And I mean, to the point where I couldn't believe it. I had never met anybody with a heart like that. Had never met anybody. And I'm telling you, once God allowed me to live and get old, I started to pattern myself after that woman. You know, and I got a little saying, I've been throwing that out there, man, for weeks now. What we do for ourselves, that shit die when we die. What we do for others, it continues to live on. Man, I got a brother, man, that we buried about 2 years ago. And my tears at the funeral was because of all the people that he had touched, all the lives that he had touched. And I was like, damn. You know, that's what I need to do. I modeled myself after him. I modeled myself after my mother. I modeled myself after my mother-in-law. You know, help somebody, man. Be so selfish all your life. You know, help somebody. We got kids that we ain't trying to help. Got family members that we ain't trying to help. Because we think it's all about us. I thought it was all about me. They don't understand. When it was all said and done, I ain't understand. So, you know, my mission is to come here, man, and to put something in your ear so you will hear some other than the bullshit that you might hear on the pod. Two years, you're like, oh man, I ain't been in jail in 2 years. I took a break. The third year, you going back. I'm like, no. That ain't what I'm trying to do. I'm trying not to never go back. And I realized, too, that it was possible. The good part about this right here is that you are in a place right now where you can have clarity of your thinking, clarity in your mind. I mean, I would hope, you know, ain't none of y'all had no drugs, alcohol, or cigarettes. Well, let me just say, ain't none of y'all had no cigarettes. Ain't none of y'all had no cigarettes. So what that tells me is you can do without it. It ain't gonna kill you. If you don't get no cigarettes, if you don't get no alcohol, if you don't get no drugs, you ain't gonna die. You know? Man, this shit right here, man. The power of my thoughts, the power of me thinking. You know, first and foremost, man, you got to be in an environment where you are not being influenced by drugs, man. That drug thinking, that shit is crazy. You know, it is crazy. I know how many times you be wrong in what you think. And you be adamant that you right. Adamant that you right. Until you find out that you're wrong. You know, man, I used to think a man or a woman was judged in different ways because of my perspective. A man ain't got nothing to do with his size. Got something to do with how responsible he is. You know, every 2 years you come into the jail or whatever, and then you wondering why don't nobody look at you as a good father or a good mother. First and foremost, man, your presence got to count. Your presence means something. Can't be a darn long-distance father or long-distance mother. You know? My thing, man, you know, my height for the day was supposed to be about staying positive. About staying positive. That's what the height was supposed to be. Because I know, man, once you leave here, staying positive is going to be a challenge. first 2 jobs that you get turned down for, you know, you ready to flip the script. Fuck it, I don't need that job no way. I don't need a job no way. I'm here to tell you, this is a capitalistic society that we live in. You got to have some money. You got to have some money. You know, I'm sorry to tell you that. But you know, how do I stay positive, man? How do I continue to grind to get what I want? You need to know it's more than one way of getting money. It's a fast and easy way, and then there's another way. The brother seen me pull up, man, in a 2023 Mercedes. You know? It's like, man, how you get that? I ain't sell no drugs. I worked for 25 years. Somebody showed me what to do with the money that I'm making, and I did it. I followed their suggestions. Then I turn around and look in my 401k. I got more money than I ever dreamed of without selling drugs. More money than I ever dreamed of for taking the slow route, for taking the slow and grind money. You know, I used to hear it on the street, man. Quick money, quick, fast money don't last. I ain't believe that. And I saw it when I go to penitentiary, when I go to jail. You got dudes down there supposed to be big-time dealers. They can't even get a lawyer. They can't even get out on bond. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, something's wrong with this picture. That shit came to me while I was clear. You know, these were some people I looked up to. So-and-so got money. He got a bag. Shit. You get that, and now, I mean, you know, this was years ago for me. Now, a lawyer, man, shit, they rob you, man. What are you talking about, man? A bullshit case, 30 grand. What? You know what I'm saying? Best hustle, man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I read this somewhere, you know, and man, this is why I passed a suggestion on to my son and my daughter, my wife and I. We were trying to figure out what to do with the kids when they go to college. My wife told him, said, look, you be a doctor or a lawyer, and you can get rich from those 2 professions. That's how my kids became lawyers. And you know what? They were mad at me and my wife for sending them to law school. They were mad. My son was like, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. You know why? Because he didn't have that vision when he was 21 years old. Or what it would be like when you 40 and you making over $200,000 a year. He ain't had that vision. You know, and I mean, there's a lot of us, man, that don't have the vision that we think we got. You get a job and you save and you put your money in a 401k, you invest your money and all of that. You flip some houses, you flip some cars, you do some legal hustling. We don't have that vision. We still thinking that, you know, man, I can sell poo-poo all my life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I ain't gonna hit you with a gut shot, but you know, the loaded belt, boom. You know what I'm saying? No, you can't do that. You know, you can't do that. And the same thing, man, I can't say, I don't know nobody sold drugs all their life and was successful about it. Now, don't get me wrong now. I know some that have sold drugs for a long time, and they still good. You know, the law of averages, man, the law of averages. Everybody ain't gonna get popped, you know. Do you want to take that risk? That's like Joe Burrows, you know what I'm saying? Playing, hey, Joe, you know you got a bad leg, you might hurt your leg, right? Joe said, yeah, well, it's a risk. You know, a risk of winning and a risk of losing. You know what I'm saying? He won. But it ain't going to happen for everybody. Aaron Rodgers didn't win. He on the shelf for the rest of the year. You know? But man, it's important that we keep some good stuff in our ear, man. Keep some good stuff in our ear, man. I have seen people, man, be successful with the suggestions that other people gave them, you know, and they made it work, man. That street stuff, man, I don't know about that, you know. I don't know about that. I like doing stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? I like doing stuff like that. That dude driving a 2023 Mercedes, I like to do stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Man, just from grinding. But stay positive, man, stay positive, you know. The message from me is that, man, in the last 30 years, everything didn't go the way I wanted it to go. But you know what? I didn't give up. C300. Got somebody to tint the windows so you can't see me. Yeah, I like that, you know what I mean? But stay positive, man. Stay positive, you know. Stay positive even while you're in here. You have to understand. I mean, just looking at this thing, man. Man, you don't need no drugs, man. You ain't dead. Some of y'all to think I got to have it every day. I need it every day. I need a cigarette every day. I need some alcohol every day. You come in here and they take that mess away from you. They don't care nothing about what you think you need. And they tell you, leave that physical stuff at the door and rely on this. And a whole lot of us still don't. You know, a whole lot of us still don't, man. But you know, my anniversary thing, man, for this group right here. This brother right here, he was at the first group, and he said it himself. He was like, man, it's been just about a year, you know, since y'all been coming in here. We don't get paid nothing. I mean, today, I could have stayed at home today. Chill. Cloudy, raining, drizzling. You know what I'm saying? My car in the garage. Could have left it clean. Stayed at home, you know. But I like doing this, man, because it's been freely handed down to me. Come in here and help somebody, you know. But we got a brother here today, man, that's going to share his story. He got a powerful story, you know. And, man, this is what we attempt to do on a regular basis, man. Bring somebody in here, man. We got a list. We got a lineup of people that come in here, right, to share their story, man. And I'm impressed with it. Got some females, too. I'm impressed with it, you know. And the idea behind this is the visual. You know, ain't nothing smart about me. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing smart. I ain't no rocket scientist. You know what I'm saying? I'm a recovering addict. Ain't nothing smart about me, you know, except for I know how to take suggestions. I know when my suggestions are questionable, so I run it by somebody else, you know. I know how to ask for help. Please. I mean, I don't just ask for help sometimes. I cry out. I cry out for help. Please help me. You know, help me get outside of myself. You know, and you heard me say, man, I got kids, man. I had to pray on that. I ain't know how to raise no kids. All I know how to do is get the next one. Go get the next one. You know? So this is what this thing is all about, man. You know? Just want to make that clear. You know what I mean? We've been coming here for a year. We don't get paid. Ain't nobody paying us. This is volunteer work. You know? Man, so think about yourself, man. Think about it. My last question for you, I always like to get you engaged, is how do you see yourselves? How do you see yourselves? That's for everybody. How do you see yourself? You know, I guarantee you could be wrong in the end result, but how do you see yourself? You know, that's today. A year from now, you could be different. 2 years from now, you could be real different. 5 years from now, we wouldn't even recognize you. You know, every time somebody see me, they're like, damn, man, you looking good. You can tell I'm eating. Somebody feed me. You know what I'm saying? Same thing for me is the same thing for you. Again, this brother Daniel, man, Daniel came in, man, and to bring a message. And I'm so glad he did. With that, I give you Daniel.
salam, and all the good, great greetings. I got to start with, it's never too late. It is never too late to be who you might have been. And the reason I say that, when I left Deep Metals, April 21st of 2020, the first thing I did when that solid port gate opened was step out that gate, and I got down on the ground and I kissed it. Because I hadn't seen society in 30 years. And I was messed up. I was messed up. Because it was very overwhelming. But the blessing started back July 19th of 2007. I had a cellie from Church Hill that had caught 20 years extra fair time at King Mountain for running dope, and he was dying. And I knew people, and they went to bat for him, but they couldn't get him out because the fairs were not going to cut him loose. And he asked me one thing, promise him that I would get my life together, because when I was in, my life was out of control. Every day I snorted morphine pills and I smoked weed, just to cope, just to feel like I was normal. And the thing about it, when I promised him that I would get my life together, July 20th became my recovery date. And I haven't looked back since. Even though I was getting denied parole, and I was getting denied, they was giving me 3-year deferral, and I was getting denied, I never gave up. I kept somewhere a plan that I didn't know if it was going to work, but I just knew it was better than what was going on. And that's why when I came out, I was able to do what I'm definitely going to get down the road and say what I'm doing. But last week, I was at Mobilized Recovery, and I met John. And he said, let me get your business card, because I'm an senior outreach liaison, which I was an outreach manager, because I never thought my life would ever amount to anything, because nobody, my parents, nobody believed that I would, except the brothers that I was in there with. Pan-African that I am, you know, and I say it as I am because we are, and we are because I am. And most important is never knowing that I could talk, because when I was in prison, I didn't talk. I didn't talk, you know, but yet I was building it up. So when I called my brother, sent him a text down here, or I called him and he hit me back with a text, because I know he lived in Henrico. I told him I was coming down. He told me he in Vegas, because this is how we still stay connected in this process. So when I started in the road of recovery, which is I like to talk about, I never thought my life would be as what Marshall was saying, because I was just doing stuff that was aimlessly going about until I developed a plan, and it was a plan that other people was telling me. So prior to coming down here, because it took me several hours to get here, I called Brother Willie, and he's another brother that was locked up over 30 years. And you know, just to build with him. And I didn't even tell him I was coming in here to talk. I just wanted to build with him, right? Most important, what I'm doing right now is why I asked the parole board before my 5 years is up to release me off of parole, because I want to get a job working in the Virginia Department of Corrections to do what I do, to train the brothers to be with them, because of the fact is we are the example that we want others to see. And most important is knowing what life is about in there, knowing what life is about out here. So life is about living out here. And it's about being our best self. But I got to tell y'all, when y'all walk through, I'm looking to see, is there somebody I know in the crowd? Because I've been around, because mostly everybody I still deal with is people that was locked up. because that's who I know. That's who I was around for that amount of time. But most important is us staying connected and actually checking on each other to make sure that we are out here staying on our square, doing what's right and moving forward with our life, because we know what it is in there now. It's a totally different game in there now than what it was when we was in there, you know. But when I started using drugs, it was between 12 and 13 for me, and I was in the early 70s when I started. But I started because I needed to escape the pain and the anguish and the disconnect and all that existed in my family. And even to the day, I'm the last of 12. It is still that way. I have one of my older brothers I haven't talked to in 50 years. I reached out to him when I was incarcerated, but he never responded. And I haven't talked to him. I'm not mad at him, because you know what? I can't hold on to any bad issues, because that's the stuff that will give me a reason to go back. That's the stuff that'll give me a reason to develop and become my best self. And so, not only him, but other members of my family, because they didn't know that the God of my understanding had a plan for me. And when somebody prophesied that over my life, I believed it, because he said, God got something for you to do. And my saying, Marshall, is don't nobody care how much I know until I show them how much I care. And when I have been able to do that by participating in a mobilized recovery, a brother from Miami gave me this T-shirt last week, just because when he came through the doors, I was the first one to meet him, and I was the first one to meet him, and he's like, and we got to talking, because this is what learning how to become and still becoming my best self. And so in the process of doing that, knowing that it's a work in progress, but it's never ending, but it's always about growing. And so when I feel like my family gave up on me, I never gave up on myself, even though it seemed like it, even though I was still caught up in the grips of addiction, I never gave up on myself. And as I was in prison, I was doing stuff, and I was telling them, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. But they wasn't listening to me, but I still kept doing it, you know? So when my last parole hearing was December 18th of 2019, I had a professor of Washington Lee School of Law. I had Brother Willie. I had a director of a program that helps women with children, and they do a whole lot. They do a whole lot for women and children. I had these people show up at my parole hearing, and my two sisters, my one sister who passed, we found her dead February 27th because she died of alcohol misuse disorder. And she was sitting in the chair when they went in the house and they found her dead. But she was with me for 30 years that I was in prison until I got out of prison. And then she was done. So the third day after being out of prison, she accused me of stealing. The fourth day, she called in the cops. The next week, she argued with me. But you know what? Somebody prophesied God had a plan for me. I moved out in 1 month, and I have not looked back since, you know. And the blessing is just knowing that I was more than what my parents said. You never amount to nothing. You would never be nothing. My father never talked to me, so I don't know what it was just abandonment issues that I faced it, and rejection issues that I faced it. And most important is me knowing that there was something inside of me. I just didn't know what it was, but there was a little flame in me that just did not want to go out. And so here it is. When I came out of prison at 59, I knew it was about walking the walk, but not talking the talk. And that is why I've been able to become a certified peer recovery specialist. I've been able to become a trainer of trainers in 2 certifications through the Virginia Behavioral Health and Development Services. That's why I was able to ask a friend, let's come down here because I'm going to speak. But that's why I'm able to feel the vibration. When I got outside them gates, I feel funny. I feel funny because this is the first time I've been back in prison since, or jail since I've been out. And it did not feel good. You know, and so when Marshall pulled up, the first thing I had to let him know is how it feels. Because I'm recognizing that everything ain't about turning to anger, and everything is not about having to use anything to make me feel different than what it is. They're different than what I am, you know. So my life, you know, April 21st of 2023, I went to Hawaii to speak at a conference in Honolulu. And it was a room full of prosecutors. But you know, my subject was how best they can start supporting people with programs in prison. And I gave it up because first thing they want to do is, if you got a substance use disorder, the first thing they want to do is incarcerate you because you got a substance use disorder, instead of giving us the avenues that will require us to go through treatment, regardless if you're successful in treatment or not, but just giving the tools that will come with teaching a person how to build up some stability and recovery, and I call it equity, with back in themselves, because in the process of using, become disconnected with self. And so when I was able to listen, they listened to me, they followed it up. Since then, I made a couple podcasts, and I got a few more on the way. Matter of fact, when I was at Mobilized Recovery, I made a podcast with Our Heart Radio. And the most important part of making that podcast is how underserved communities needs more access, not only to treatment, but also they need to not to be incarcerated for their substance use. You know, I used to say when I was in prison, don't feed. I say today, a person with a substance use disorder, a person with that different languages, what I'm saying, person first language is what I use. But most important, it is having a plan while you're in him. It's having a plan, because I was watching the movie King Richard, and they had decided if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that's so important, because being in Henrico County Jail, just like if you're moving forward and going into the Virginia Department of Corrections, is having a plan, and most important, getting with people that's going. For me, it was about getting with people that's going to build me up. I know what it felt like when people tear me down, but to get with brothers that was from everywhere, and I'm able to call brothers from everywhere that I was with, and I've still talked to the brothers in prison. I speak to the parole board for them, because I'm taking this platform not just to be it for myself. I'm taking this platform to pay it forward. I don't use the words give back, you know, because Denzel Washington say, if you fall back, how is that going to help? But if you fall forward, at least you can get up. And that's the most important part, is being able to just get up and do the things that's required, you know, and not knowing what it is that the support to have from your family members, you know, and if you don't have support for your family members, how can you make it the best way possible? So now I greet guys that come out of Fairfax County Jail, and I greet them and give them every resource that I have, because I work to build resources. That means give them a phone. That means if they need to get an ID or a birth certificate, I'm able to pay for that. A driver's license, I'm able to pay for that. I'm able to do these things to know that it's important to show how much I care. And that's what I'm able to do because I work for an organization called the Chris Atwood Foundation. And we're only service Northern Virginia. But if you're ever in Northern Virginia, you're able to access all our services for free. You know, I bought a bunch of postcards to pass out. And that's what it's been these last 3.5 years for me. They gave me a start. They sponsored me in getting in the Oxford House. And when I got out, I was cutting grass. But I knew there was something else coming along. So a couple of weeks ago, I was walking. I was dog sitting, so I was walking my nephew's dog, and I come down the stairs, and there was a bald eagle. There was a bald eagle right there, and it was the closest I ever been to a bald eagle. My heart flooded. It flooded because I've seen them in a while out in the Occoquan on the boat, but to see one that close to me, and for some people to interpret it, what it was, to see that, you know, they say my life is about to take flight. And to me, that's me getting off of parole, getting a job with the Virginia Department of Corrections, you know, to continue to reach and touch the brothers and sisters that are in there that have time, but who can learn something, because taking my lived experience as it is, you taking your lived experience and using it to make a living with, you know, because Marshall was taking his lived experience to buy that Mercedes. But I got to tell you too, I bought one February for my birthday. It was a used one. It was a used one, but that thing is so nice. And I made sure I polished it and everything, because I was going to roll down here, but my man brought me down here in this Tesla. I was going to roll down here, because it's like that, a 05, and it came with 85,000 miles. A Mercedes CLK 320, and it's beautiful as shit. It is. You know why? Because what is my best self? What is your best self? What is your best self? Because we know what our lower self is, but do we really know what our higher self is? And this is the conversations that I have with brothers that still in Charlotte, New Mexico, Brooklyn, Henrico, still in Richmond. Because I got in that car one day where the man was sleeping on the ground in front of the apartment building that I live in. One Thursday, I say, "Where you live at?" He said, "He live in Church Hill." I say, "Tomorrow when I get off of work, I'm gonna drive you home, because I got tired of him sleeping on that concrete." And you think I didn't drive his ass there? I drove him all the way, and I called Shy, who lived in Henrico. He met me in Ashland, and we rolled right on down here. But the fact is, I did that because somebody didn't do it for me, but I'm not gonna be what somebody didn't do for me. I'm gonna be what I need to do for somebody else. But I don't know why you look familiar, but you look familiar. Yeah. You know? But this is what recovery looks like. That's why when the brother gave me this T-shirt, I got another T-shirt from some sisters from Texas called Incarcerated Lives Matter, and I thought about wearing that one. I didn't know which one, but I thought this was the most, because it do matter. Our lives still matter, and no matter what we do, we are somebody, and we more than somebody. You know, we more than what any negative person has ever said. And most important is, they was wrong when they said it anyway. They was wrong. And that's why whatever happens, you know, it's so, just to show each other what love look like. Even if you don't know how to love but that much. Because if you know how to love that much, you can make it constantly grow. You can make it grow. And that's what that's what my legacy in life will be going forward. It has been going forward. because I do harm reduction. I work on a harm reduction van. That means I pass out safe for use kits and all this other stuff. And most important is when I see somebody that comes up and life has beaten them down and their substance use has beaten them down, I give them a hug. I give them a hug and let them know if they need to call me, call me. You know, that's what I do as a certified peer recovery stressor. And the reason why I'm certified is because I took a test in order to become that. And not only that, I got registered, so that means I can charge everybody for my time being in here right now. But, you know, but that's what I'm able to do, you know. But the reason why is because I never thought I would ever be, when I got out, I thought I would be working in a warehouse and nobody wanted to see because I was sentenced in Fairfax in 1990 to a life sentence. They didn't have no cut card. When they say 20 to life, they went straight ball. And you know what? And I never thought I would ever see the street. But I planned while I was in there. After I got through my anger stuff, I planned while I was in there. After I got through that, after my first 7 years, because my first 7 years was in the hole. But I planned to actually do something with myself while I was in there. You know, July 9th, I met the governor of the state. I intentionally met him. I had my work T-shirt on, and the process says I save lives. And that's the first thing he noticed. And I said, this man don't know. I was just dead 30 years. And I gave him a conversation that he actually had a staffer call me back, and we had a further conversation that hopefully the staff is looking at this right now. Because the fact is, they need to know it's not about your politics. It's about people's lives and how to make people better, because everybody has a story. Everybody has, and are people telling their story. And there's people listening, because if I'm gonna ask you how you doing, I'm gonna stay in there long enough to want to know how you doing, no matter what you say. This program right here in meeting John, and he said, let me get your business card. I got a business card. I've had 4 business cards since I've been out. 4, and I'm not done. I'm on the 2 re-entry councils in Fairfax and Arlington. I've been appointed to a SUD committee in Arlington. You know, not having a seat around the table, I intend, as it is, to be at the table, and I speak up. I speak up because the voice always needs a voice. But I never thought that I would be in that space. And I'm not done, because of the fact is there's something else for me to do. I don't know what it is. It's gonna come. It's gonna come. That's why when that eagle showed up, it gave me a message. It gave me a message. My first year out, a friend gave me a card with an eagle on it. I kept that card, and I had to pull that card up off the shelf. And congratulations in the first year of my life and all the things that I did, is what she said. And this is going on to my 4th year. And I've done a lot of things. So 2 weeks ago at the RCO that I work at, which is a recovery center organization that I work at, I was able to hold the ribbon cutting. I was able to hold a ribbon during the ribbon cutting. I never thought that would ever happen. And I told my executive director, my life done come full circle now. You know, and now I'm ready to move on and do something else. And this is a part of the process, you know. It's being able to sit, stand here and talk amongst my brothers and sisters. You know, does anybody have any questions they want to ask? Go ahead. Yeah. Huh? Don't be shy. Arlington. Yep. Hop, skip, the jump from D.C. See, who I work for, we have a HOPE team. It's called a HOPE team. And they work inside the jail, and they work to give you the resources to find out things that you need upon leaving, And then that's when we get you outside the jail, and we work with you through our Revive to Thrive program for 2 years. Yeah. And when we say revive to thrive, because you're on the heartbeat is slow, and you got a way of actually making it get higher. Yeah. Because the Virginia parole board said that they wasn't ready to release me. No, I had a life sentence. Yeah. Huh? Oh. Because you know what? That's looking back. It's about looking. It's looking. Yeah. It's about looking forward. Yeah. Because you know why? Right now, I don't know what it would be leaving up out of here. I don't know if I said anything that made sense. I don't, and most important is I'm hoping that y'all would take something, because most important is, as I started with, it is never too late to be who you might have been, because you can't become that. No matter where you're at. Even if you're on Wallace Ridge or Red Onion or Sussex 1 and Sussex 2, and I know how that feels to be there. I know how that feels. Anybody else have any questions? Yes? What did I do? First of all, I went to the law library. I really couldn't read that well, but I went to the law library, and as the saying goes, I was faking it till I became it, right? And then from there, I was in a couple study groups, and then I got my GED April 29th of 2007 at 47 years old. I got my GED. And then immediately I took some corresponding college classes. Yeah. All it cost was like $30 a month, $54 a month working in a 45-cent hour job in prison. It paid that way. No.
Any more questions?
None from the brothers? Huh? Yes, I do. Augusta? Was it Augusta? No. Your face looks familiar. Oh.
Thank you, first of all, for coming.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you. Gave a wealth of information. Gave a brother like me a lot of hope. How do you have a recommendation for agencies that help with the PRS? That's something that I'm looking to do, and I'm about to go home. I might go home tomorrow, but I never go home that much. So when I get home, I already have a plan, to pursue that. So do you have any recommendations as far as
www.vaprs.org. And once you get to that website, you will see a list of all different types of trainings that you can get. I'm a forensic peer trainer, which means that means that I follow self from the bookings, from the booking process all the way through the end. It's six stages of going through from booking all the way to the end. And I mean, that includes if you get state time or release. That's what a forensic peer does. Yeah. I'm a trainer. I'm a Revive trainer, so that means if a person is overdosing, I teach you how to revive a person. I'm a lot of things that I never thought I would come. Knowing what my life was prior to, because every day was about doing all the wrong things, because I was taught how to make all the wrong decisions. I reflected as errors in thinking, but I never learned how because, shoot, 11 and 12 years old, I was going in somebody's house. That was the only way I could really eat or put money in my pocket, you know? And because nobody ever took time out to say, do you have any homework? What your grades look like? Let me go to your PTA. Let me do these things. Nobody ever said. So when I dropped out of school, nobody ever noticed that I had dropped out of school. I just got up and left the house every day. Nobody ever cared. They still don't, but it's okay. Because last night I wrote a letter to my father. I wrote a letter to my father. And at the end of that letter, even though I said all the things you didn't do, the most important thing I said that I needed to do in order for me to grow, I forgive you. I'm going to write a letter to my mother. I'm going to write a letter to my mother, and I'm going to say the things because she tell me she wish she never had me. You know, you tell a kid you never had, how does that make you feel? I wish you was never born. You're just like your father. All them negative things. But I never got a hug from them. They never said, I love you. But I can't blame them because you know what? They came from households too. They came from stuff that was really messed up, so they didn't know how to give it. My mother was born in 1921, and my father was born in 1919. So they came from an era of really messed up people as well. So doing that is my healing process because it's always, for me, it's about healing. And if I'm healing, I'm growing, and I'm able to do the things that I can do for others because it's so important. As I said, don't nobody care how much I know until I show them how much I care. And when it comes to kids, I care. I care. George Mason University, I speak to the kids. And then from that, they led me to Alexandria to go speak to the kids, you know. But not only that, you know, working and volunteer my time wherever I can, whether it be in Arlington or whether it be in D.C. Because it's productive time. It's productive time. Last Wednesday, I went to hear Anthony Ray Hinton speak at a church on New York Avenue in D.C. This brother was locked up for 30 years on death row in Alabama for a crime that the man said the only reason I'm locking you up is because you're black. In the movie Just Mercy, he's in the movie Just Mercy. He told a story about one of the white guys that ended up on death row with him for killing a black dude, stabbing him multiple times, hung him and everything. The story that he told is what his mother showed him was how to love. So when everybody on death row was sending him, don't you know who this person is? Don't you know who this person is? He didn't care. He needed to show him what love looked like. And when he showed him that, after several years, they go in the visitor room on death row, and he introduced him to his father, who's a grand wizard. And his father said, don't never introduce me to an end ever again. His father and his mother both had heart attacks and died on death row. That has never happened before until then. But when it was time for his execution date, he requested that Anthony Ray Hinton be there by his side. And they allowed it. But that was the story that this brother told me, you know. And that's the story that, like I said, everybody has a story, you know. And it's not so much trying to, what they call it, in there, one up somebody on a story. I forgot what we used to say in prison, you know, but it's not even about that. It's like, how can I help you? Because if I help you get where you need to be, I can get where I need to be. That's what and that's why coming down here was definitely a labor of love. So when I got the text last week to come, I came. I didn't hesitate to come. And some of the stuff I kind of wrote in the book, I'm not following. because it's a blessing to be in the presence of y'all. It's a blessing, you know. For real, it's a blessing. Because I am, because we are, and we are because I am.
Hello, hello, hello. Hey, what we gonna do? Hey, Daniel, grab one of your cards. Grab one of your cards and write their website. I got a pen over there on the table.
Oh, it got the website on it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, give it to my man here.
This card say, no judgment, just love. Our founder, Chris, died of an overdose February 23rd of 2013. 4 days later, his sister Jenny quit her job and started the Chris Atwood Foundation. It's been in existence. We celebrated 10 years, right? And what it say, you matter. Mm-hmm. And all these services that it has on the back of this card is for free. Just work with us.
Hey, man, let's give Daniel another hand, man. Let's give Daniel another hand. Hey, man, from my perspective, you're too close to me, Daniel. From my perspective, I mean, can you imagine? I just mentioned when we were talking about somebody coming to jail every other year for 2 years, and you know, my thinking is once you get out, you got to start all over again. Can you imagine being locked up for 30 years? Being locked up for 30 years? I'm sitting over there, and of course I'm sitting in a different seat than y'all are, but I'm saying how painful that shit is. How painful that is. And I love what he did. He didn't miss a beat. The minute he got out, I mean, I hear it all the time. Man, I like to do what you're doing, Marshall. If you like to do what I'm doing, do what Daniel did. He got out and started moving forward. Now, I ain't saying you got to do what he did. Whatever it is that you want to do, he laid it out there. He put the blueprint out there. You got to be moving forward, man.
I got to tell you, when I got out, I borrowed a friend's bike. And it was strange because I hadn't went that fast in so long. It was strange. When I got out, I couldn't go but like maybe 200 yards. I had to come back because it felt different in being out until I got better. But when I got that bike and I started riding that bike,
yeah,
I rode that bike everywhere.
Yeah.
It's so much that a neighbor said, he ride that bike everywhere. Guess what? I got my own bike and I still ride it everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yep.
I knew a brother that was incarcerated for 10 years. And man, when he came home, he was from the city of Richmond. He was on Chamberlain Avenue. And, you know, people across the street now, they'll cross the street, you know, they'll be on the sidewalk, run across, stand on the medium strip, wait on those cars, and then go across. This brother had been incarcerated for 10 years. And he went across the street like they did on the medium, and he saw the cars coming and got petrified and froze and couldn't move. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't used to seeing cars. You know? Now you imagine I was incarcerated for 6.5 years. When I came back, there were places that I knew like the back of my hand. You could take me there and I got lost. It'll build new bridges, new highways, new streets, new subdivisions. Can you imagine for 30 years? You know? I mean, when it's all said and done, that shit is painful, man. That shit would traumatize you. You know? And I love what this brother did, man. What we talk about, you got to use this, man. He's like, man, I ain't looking back at what my mother and father went through, what my sister went through, what my friends, what my neighborhood went through. I got a plan. Man, I wish I had my phone with me. I would show it to you. I had, one of the things to talk about was, look, you got to have a plan, and then you got to have a strategy to implement that plan. You got to have a strategy to implement that plan. I mean, so a lot of this stuff, man, is repetitious, but that works. Repetition works. You know what I'm saying? I want this brother to see that. You got to have a plan and some strategy to implement that plan. He read. Oh, and that's what else I want this brother to say, man. Who he ain't, he said he didn't read that well. He didn't read that well. But he have overcome that. He have overcome that. Switched his priorities up. He ain't trying to look cute. You know what I'm saying? Trying to save his life. What they say, you can't save your ass and your life at the same time. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you. You gotta walk that walk. You know what I'm saying? You gotta talk that talk, Yeah. Hey, D, thank you. Hey, what else I'd like to say too, man, is look here. This brother met me in the parking lot, told me that he'd been incarcerated for 30 years. I gave the brother a hug without even thinking about it. And then I thought about it. Dudes coming out of penitentiary don't play that shit. Dudes coming out of penitentiary don't play that shit. Hey, where the hug? You know what I'm saying? The brother, he accepted it. You know what I'm saying? Because he knew where I was coming from. And part of recovery is changing your ideas and your attitudes. You know what I mean? Man, that's love. That's a sign of love,
That's why when Angelo, he's from Miami, he gave me this T-shirt. He said, I want you to be the first one with this T-shirt. And when you look at her, she was an artist that existed. And there's and this is true, but this is naloxone is what they say, because this comes from Latino recovery advocacy, and this is a pride and joy, because meeting people who are just like us opens up multiple different doors, because they can identify and they can relate, they understand, they overstand, and they want to keep it going, and that's what it is, because
we good.
We got, B.
Yeah, we good.
Thank you.
I got my credentials as a peer company coach for machine. I got 900 credit where I can start going around and talk to students, to helping people. I just want to know how you went about and where you went to get that support so they keep doing what you're doing.
I think Brother Willie. Since when you said machine, Brother Willie? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You see, and how did I do that? Jenny met me, and I was so glad to be out. She said, "You got an obvious light that needs to be shined." So I was introduced to her from Assistant Commonwealth Attorney of Arlington, who I met. He took me to lunch. Jenny worked for him, and then that's how that happened. And then I just started working with the Chris Atwood August 12th of 2020, which I've been there now the first job I ever had over 3 years, even over a year. And so I just started taking all different trainings, and then from that I started meeting different people from down here, Chesterfield, Gooseland, all the way to Charlotte, North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina, and I just started meeting people. And then from doing that, I started just developing relationships, because it's real, it's sincere, and it's honest, and that's all I can give you. I can't sound like a professional, like a professor. I only can sound like what Darren you is, and just to be myself, and that's how doors just start opening up.
Yeah.
So basically, you said this was a victim.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
What's your name?
My name's Darren.
Darren. Oh, hey, Chan.
I got my own foundation I'm going to start called Stepping from Christ. Stepping from Christ nonprofit organization. What that is, get back to your community and help the kids that you don't know about the peer pressure and all that.
And believe me, this is crazy. I'm gonna put it out. My email address is 421-2020. Danny 421-2020. So if you look me up, I will come and volunteer my time.
Yes, sir.
We got time for one more question.
Thank you. That's why when I look. Uh-huh. Yep.
All right. Thank you, man. Yeah. Thank y'all for coming out, man. If it wasn't for y'all, it wouldn't be no us. You know?
Right.
Thank everybody for coming out. Come back again in 2 weeks. We'll be here again with some more dynamite speakers. We're going to keep this thing rolling right into 2024. All right?